There is a silent weight you've been carrying for decades. Not because you wanted to, but because you learned it was the only way to be safe. You are the one who smiles when the boss hands over extra work at 5 p.m. You are the one who always says whatever you want when friends ask where to eat. Even though your heart is craving something specific, you are the legendary good child, the one who never troubled their parents, never talked back, and always knew how to tuck their emotions into a dark corner to prioritize the peace of others. People look at you and praise how sensible you are, how mature you've become at such a young age. But there is a truth this society rarely admits. Excessive compliance is often not a virtue, but a survival reflex. Modern neuroscience has begun to reveal a shocking perspective. Constantly suppressing personal needs to please others causes chronic stress equivalent to major psychological trauma. Today, we aren't going to talk about the morality of being good. We are going to talk about biology. We will dive into the labyrinth of the limbic system, decode the silent cortisol storm, and name a defense mechanism you might be using every day without even knowing it. The Fawn Response, also known as survival people-pleasing. This isn't a video about judgment. It's an invitation to understand yourself, to realize that your chronic shoulder pain or that hollow feeling in your chest is actually a cry for help from a nervous system that has been bracing itself for far too long. To understand why you became too good, we need to go back in time to where it all began, the brain of a child. Most of us are familiar with the 3 instinctive responses to danger: fight, flight, or freeze. But for a child growing up in an environment with angry, emotionally neglectful, or overly demanding parents, these 3 options are impossible. A child cannot fight back against parents because they are the only source of survival. They cannot flee anywhere because they lack independence. And if they freeze for too long, they are labeled as stubborn and punished further. Therefore, the brain activates a 4th, more subtle and persistent strategy: fawn the compliance response. When the limbic system, the brain's emotional and survival center, detects instability from adults, it orders the prefrontal cortex to suspend personal needs. Instead of protecting the self, the brain switches to radar mode. You learn to read the wrinkles on your father's forehead. You learn to listen to the rhythm of your mother's footsteps to know if they are happy or sad. You learn to become a mirror reflecting exactly what they want to see. You are good because it is the price of peace. In a child's world, rejection by a parent is biologically equivalent to death, and compliance is the only life jacket. But this life jacket starts to suffocate you as you grow up. Every time you say yes when your heart wants to say no, a complex chemical script begins inside your body. Normally, when facing stress, the body releases adrenaline and cortisol to prepare for physical action. However, for a good child, that action is blocked. You aren't allowed to scream. You aren't allowed to run. You must stand still and smile. This cortisol doesn't disappear. It accumulates into a silent storm in the blood. This is a state of low-grade chronic stress. High levels of cortisol over a long period begin to destroy neural connections, especially in the hippocampus, the area that manages memory and emotion. It keeps you in a state of hypervigilance. You become oversensitive to people's tone of voice. You fear a text message without punctuation, and you spiral into thoughts about what you did wrong when someone is silent. The result is that the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logical thinking and decision-making, becomes exhausted. That's why people pleasers find it so hard to choose a meal, an outfit, or a major life direction. Simply put, over the years, your decision-making muscle has atrophied, replaced by the instinct to scan for the desires of others. You don't truly know what you want because, from the start, your brain was programmed with, what I want doesn't matter. What they want is safety. This goodness is like a loan with predatory interest rates. You borrow peace in the present by mortgaging your identity and future health. And eventually, your body will start sending invoices you cannot ignore, continuing the journey into the silence of the body. We enter the stage where psychological trauma is no longer just a vague thought, but starts to manifest physically through every ache and pain. When the mind is forced into silence, the body begins to speak. This is where we encounter a vital concept in modern psychology. The body keeps the score. For a good child, suppressing emotions isn't just a mental state. It is a literal physical contraction. Every time you swallow your anger, the muscles around your throat and jaw tighten. Every time you brace yourself to endure an unfair criticism without reacting, your shoulders lift slightly higher as an instinctive shield for your vulnerable neck. Over decades, this contraction becomes the default state. Have you ever wondered why you have chronic shoulder pain despite not doing heavy lifting? Why tension headaches strike so frequently at the end of the day? It isn't just about posture. It is the manifestation of carrying the expectations of others on your back and clamping down on your own self-control. In Dr. Gabor Mate's renowned work, he points out that people who consistently put others' needs above their own have a higher risk of autoimmune diseases. When you cannot say no with your words, your body says no through illness. Your immune system becomes confused. Instead of attacking external enemies, it begins to attack itself, much like how you attack your own legitimate needs to please the world. Irritable bowel syndrome, sudden shortness of breath, or a lump in the throat, all are confessions of an overloaded nervous system. Your body is trying to tell you, I can't pretend anymore. To understand why society worships this obedience, despite the heavy cost, we must look at classic studies on conformity. Stanley Milgram's experiments in the 60s revealed a chilling truth. Most humans are willing to inflict pain on others if an authority figure orders them to and says it's the right thing to do. Obedience is socialized as a standard of kindness. But from a psychological standpoint, it is often a total lack of personal boundaries. We are taught that a good person is someone who doesn't cause trouble, who always agrees. But science shows that individuals capable of resisting unreasonable demands are actually the most mentally stable. The goodness we are discussing is not voluntary cooperation. It is blind submission driven by the fear of abandonment. Society praises you for being good because that goodness is convenient for them. It makes employees easy to manage, friends easy to use, and parents feel powerful, but no one asks you to buy that convenience. How many percentages of your true self did you have to kill? Breaking this prejudice is the first step toward healing. True maturity is not about causing less trouble for others. Maturity is having the ability to say no to things that violate your core values, even if it makes others uncomfortable. So, how do we begin to strip off the good child armor we've worn for so long? Healing isn't about becoming rude or selfish. Healing is learning to reprogram your nervous system. The first step is learning to listen to your somatic signals instead of social expectations before you say yes to a request. Take 5 seconds to scan your body. Is your stomach tightening? Is there a lump in your throat? If so, that is your limbic system, warning you that you are betraying yourself. Learn to sit with the discomfort of others. When you set a boundary, those used to exploiting your goodness will react strongly. That doesn't mean you are wrong. It proves that the boundary was absolutely necessary. You do not need to be good to be worthy of love. Love based on submission is a conditional and toxic kind of love. You deserve to be present with all your imperfections, your moments of rebellion, and your truest feelings. The child inside you has been waiting in that dark corner for too long. They don't need more praise for being mature. They need you to take their hand and say, from now on, you don't have to carry the world. I'm here. Remember, daring to be not good, daring to speak up for your needs, is the bravest act you can perform for your health and your life. Thank you for walking with me through the truth about being good. If this video made you see yourself in it, don't hesitate to share your story in the comments. It could be about the first time you dared to say no, or simply the relief of knowing your pain has a name. Subscribe to the channel so we can continue exploring the hidden corners of psychology and find our true selves together. You have lived for others long enough. Now, it's time to start living for yourself.